All right, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Good, very good. My name is Devraj Barton, and I wrote this wonderful book about SAP S/4HANA transformation. Okay, I think now you're all awake. Obviously, I'm not Devraj. Mr. Devraj is in UK. Unfortunately, he wrote this great book, but he's in the UK because of there's other urgent issues for him to attend. My name is Ming Christensen. I work for IBM. I'm the product manager for IBM Power Virtual Server, focused on AX, IBMI, and most importantly, SAP. And some of you may heard recently we launched Rise with SAP on Power Virtual Server. And that's why we invited our key panelists from Pfizer. We'll have customers from IBM CIO office, as well as our IBM fellow and CTO. And we're going to run through this panel and share more about our power customers' experience, transform into S/4HANA, their experience, their future plans with SAP Rise. So, Scott, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Ming. Again, my name is Scott Groth. I'm from Pfizer, and it's very good to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about our journey with S4. But first of all, I wanted to give you a bit of background and some context. I've been doing SAP now for a little over 25 years. And at Pfizer, I started at Pfizer in about 2010. And it was right after Pfizer had acquired Wyeth Pharmaceuticals. And Wyeth had a single global instance of SAP that they were running, and Pfizer was running on Oracle. So they made a decision that they were going to be a single global instance of SAP, and that's part of the reason why they started hiring and for the rollout of SAP to Pfizer. That all started, and we actually chose IBM Power as our technical architecture to run these workloads, to be able to absorb all this workload across our entire portfolio. So that's why I wanted to give you some context. I do have some slides, so I'm going to step over to the computer to show you our architecture. Again, my role at Pfizer is I'm responsible for technical architecture and onboarding emerging technologies at Pfizer. And an interesting story about that is as we were on our journey, we had already been running on the Power Platform for about 5 years. And at this time, this is when SAP HANA was introduced from SAP. And at the time, the majority of our workloads are all on Power. And we did not really want to go and explore another architecture, another technology to run HANA, which was only available at the time on x86. So I was a part of a POC working with SAP and IBM, and I did a bake-off between Power on x86 HANA on Power and HANA on x86. And I actually went to Waldorf and lobbied them based on our results to really make this a product, to make it GA. So it was to help us have a single architecture for all of our SAP workloads. And then that's history. We've been doing HANA on Power ever since and never looked back. And we've had a focus on, because of the Power Platform is so well suited for scale up workloads, everything we do at Pfizer is scale up, no matter what, because the architecture can handle it, the Power Platform can handle it. So I just wanted to share here our current environment today. This is over the last 15 years. It's grown into this platform. The top is primarily our BTP software as a service subscriptions that we use today. Some are POCs, some are in production, some are in different phases at Pfizer. The middle tier here is our internal private cloud, and the bubbles here are all running on the Power Platform today. Today it's Power 10. Back when we started, it was Power 7 back in 2016. 2011 was Power 7. And then when we went to HANA on Power, that's when we went to Power 8. That was 2016. And then recently, we just boosted our environment to Power 10. And that was all in lieu of our S4 transformation journey. So you can see the majority of the workloads that we run are running on IBM Power. The blue circles are HANA, and the yellow circles are not HANA, mostly Oracle, other databases. So you can see here we're pretty much have a hybrid environment, and this all runs our entire company. Well, again, I think it's good to say again, it's a single global instance of SAP for all of these workloads. And we run this on 6 physical hosts. This includes over 550 virtual machines that run all these workloads. They're both SAP, non-SAP, sandbox, development, QA, production, DR, AIX, Linux, you name it. And these are all running across just six physical hosts. And then we do have some workloads that literally do not run on the Power Platform, and those are their x86 footprint down there below. But if it can run on Power, we run it on Power. We even run, SAP Cloud Connector, which gets us up to Business Technology Platform. We run that on Power. Any questions before we go on? I want to make this as interactive as possible. Go ahead.
What's the size of your S/4HANA since you're running single?
I'll get there.
Okay.
I'll get there. I'm going to go over the transformation journey next.
Yeah, I noticed you've got S/4HANA and you've also got HANA as a sidecar.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking the one next to supply chain?
Yeah, I think it's next to Vertex.
Oh yeah, that's HANA sidecar. Yes.
You're running both. Is there a reason that you?
Yeah, well, that's a program that I started back in 2017, 2018. We wanted to accelerate ECC, so we introduced SLT and replicated data over to a HANA sidecar, and then we attached SAP Analytics Cloud to that to get real-time analytics. In the past, we're now looking more towards going right to S4 to get those analytics. Yeah.
One question I have is this Sterling B2B integrator. So do you use this versus the integration suite?
That's correct. Yes. These workloads are not all pure SAP. So something I didn't mention that's kind of critical to this discussion is I consider this the tier 1 layer at Pfizer. So our SAP workloads are obviously tier 1, but some of these other workloads here are tier 1, like a B2B integrator, workload automation, things like that. Those we run on the Power Platform.
So just a reminder for the folks that are watching the streaming or the recording to repeat the question, otherwise they won't.
Oh, yes. Thanks.
Is SAP the only ERP you have, or are there multiple ERPs that feed into the global ledger?
The question is, are there multiple ERPs, or is SAP the single ERP platform? SAP is the single ERP platform at Pfizer. It runs 100% of our business. 100% of our revenue goes through one system.
On the DataSphere, now you have Sidecar and also DataSphere. How are you leveraging DataSphere and what's your user?
The question is, we have both a sidecar and DataSphere. DataSphere is a POC. So we're exploring what the possibilities are with DataSphere, and yet SAP changes it up again with BDC, but that's the same idea. So
Is S4 the only system that's part of RISE, or are there
question is SAP S4 part of RISE? We are not a RISE shop at this time. I'm part of the panel that's discussing the on-premise part of Power. So the RISE stuff's coming later. Okay, so I wanted to share our S4 journey. And this is a nice graphic that I put together that kind of summarizes the journey. We've been kicking the tires on S4 since about 2018, 2019, doing POCs, working with various vendors, working with SAP, talking to people like SNP, Saniti, for different approaches to doing our S4 transformation. It officially kicked off in January of 2023. And that's it was a 19-month duration project. We chose our partner to be IBM Consulting, who then subcontracted out as our premier data migration specialist, SNP, using their Bluefield product. I mentioned earlier that our SAP instance was initiated back in Wyeth back in 1997. So we had over 20 years of data in our system and a significant amount of divestitures. So we weren't really using all that data. And that was one of the reasons why we chose SMP Bluefield, because we only take the data and the company codes that we really wanted, that we needed to operate our environment. And I'll get into more of that later. But I think that the takeaway here is this was a very, very large system. It was an 85 terabyte Oracle source system. Again, single global instance. Our whole company was running on a single global instance. At that time, it was ERP6 on Oracle on AIX. Anyway, 19 months. We satisfied that goal. We did it. We did 13 rehearsals in total, which was quite significant for the amount of time that we had. And this is one of the value props of being able to do this kind of project and being agile enough to add the resources required into our current platform without having to buy any more hardware. One of the things that you can do with the Power Platform is we bought those 6 hosts, and we only bought the amount of resources that we needed to run our environment. But that wasn't all that was on the box. So there was additional capacity that we could literally just automatically use, and it was metered by time. So as you can imagine, we had to do a significant amount of system copies to be able to do these rehearsals. We had 2 copies of production. Because we had to do so many rehearsals, we'd be on one rehearsal on one of the copies of our source system, and then getting ready for the next rehearsal on another copy of production. And all these copies of production had as much as, if not more, resources than our existing production system, because we knew that we would need as much horsepower to be able to do this migration on cutover weekend, because we had a finite number of hours to do. And 90 hours for the business was unheard of up until this point. Anyway, that was another metric that we kind of just, we chose 90, and we said, let's see if we can do 90, right? So when we did our first rehearsals, it was insanely nowhere near 90. I think the first one we did was like 250 hours. It was insane. So so we had a lot of work cut out for us to get that time down. But the big one was really which is my area, was the technical downtime. For the program, we moved 46 terabytes of raw data. And what that made up of was we only took the latest 5 years of the data, and we left behind a significant amount of company codes. What else? The target ended up being 7 terabytes, and we had a target downtime of 56 hours. And all of our rehearsals, we were getting between, 57, 60, around there. We were getting close to that. And we were hoping that we were going to get 56 for the cutover weekend, and we actually got 42 and a half hours, which was quite a relief when we got through that effort. But another significant part of the transformation was that we were on, I think you call it original GL for SAP. I don't know if it's old GL or whatever, but what? Classic GL. There you go. Thank you. And we had to get to the Universal Journal with S4. Well, you can't get to the Universal Journal only from new GL. So that's why we chose S&P Bluefield, because they were the only provider that was able to let us do that transformation all on one weekend. So we actually went through 2 finance conversions all on one weekend. So that was a significant benefit to the transformation to S4.
So how many go lives did you have then?
The question is, how many go lives do we have? 1 go live.
Within the same weekend?
Yes, 90 hours.
So when you did the 2 conversion finance, did you test between them or?
The question is, when we had to go between the 2 conversions, did we test in between? Yes, there was testing throughout the entire 90 hours, and we had checkpoints throughout the entire weekend just to ensure that each conversion was successful. And that was through our partner with S&P.
13 rehearsal is impressive.
Is that just for a production system only?
So that's what they.
The question is this for production? Yes. This slide here, well, I mean, it's for the whole program, but the metrics about rates and times was for production. Yeah.
What was the longest task that consumed your downtime?
The 42 and a half hours of technical downtime. That's data migration.
What was the cutover key people? Do you guys lock in the room or how does it?
The question was, what was the cutover experience like? We had, well, it was literally, we had 3 shifts of technical folks because you can't stay up for 90 hours. So there must have been across the globe, because wasn't just, we are our technical data, or most of our technical folks are right up here in King of Prussia. But there's people all over the globe doing all the verifications and qualifications and checking. And we're a highly qualified and regulated environment, so lots and lots of testing throughout the entire weekend.
Good question.
Your source data says 85 terabyte, and then you migrated 46. So, something.
Yeah, the question is, well, that's raw data, right? So I want to be, I'm not a big fan of putting like sizes of systems on. This is really what the takeaway. We moved 46 terabytes of raw data. Okay, that's the way that the S&P process works, where it exports the data out of your source system and then migrates it over to the target. And that's the other key part of this whole downtime process. It's not so much the performance of the target environment, the HANA system, because we all know HANA's fast, right? We all know it was more about getting to the data that we needed to move. That was the secret sauce that we used S&P for. Because if we couldn't get to the data to migrate it, that was slowing us down in the very beginning. We chose, part of my role here was downtime optimization, and we came up with a lot of innovative ways to minimize the downtime. We moved a lot of data over to our target system before cutover weekend, data that we knew that wasn't going to change, static data. We used SLT, right? So there was a lot of innovative ways that we moved the data out of that window. Another question here?
Actually, go ahead. You already answered the
Oh,
question
okay.
on the data migration.
So you did one global rollout. Did you consider regional rollouts, or what was kind of your reason to do one global?
So the question is, were we considering, phased rollout? We absolutely did. And we came to the conclusion that it was going to be way too complex for the end user experience, because you may have done one region and that one user uses the region that's in the old region and the new region. So it was going to be extremely complex to run. We would have had to run 2 different ERP systems. So yeah, that was one reason why we chose to do the Big Bang.
What was the thought process or approach to 13 rehearsal? Was it different scope of data?
what the question is, why do we do 13 rehearsals? Because we're anal retentive. No, we don't like this. Like I said, it's a single global instance. It runs our entire company. We have to be successful. We can't go back. So that's why we did 13 rehearsals.
So you made a copy of production and then you ran upgrade some on that box. That's what
Well, that's not. This process does not use some. We actually the real quick over. I'm taking up way too much time. This process, SNP, you literally only upgrade S4 once. You make a shell system. So you take a copy of production. Sorry, I'm going to go into a little bit of detail. You make a copy of production, and you use that you get rid of all the data, and you do sum once on that, and that's your gold image. And you just use that, and you copy that, and then you move data to it using the SNP Crystal Bridge tool.
What did you do with?
He was next.
What did you do with all the data that you left behind? So I presume.
So what do we do with all the data we left behind? We still have our existing old source system, and it's sitting there in read-only mode.
You have lots of different technologies in landscape. S4 replaces some of those things like CRM and transportation management. Was there any business transformation that went along with this that you?
Was there any business transformation involved in our S4 transformation? No. This was a technical only. We are now in the innovation phase for S4. It's actually a dedicated second phase of our S4 transformation business case. So we chose to do a do no harm migration up front, and now we're in the innovation phase, enabling things like more BTP utilization and some other things that we're doing for innovation.
Is there a reason why you chose to do that instead of to transform first?
Yeah, the do no harm. The question was there a reason why we chose to do this phased approach? Is because we take a risk-averse approach to upgrades, because we know there's so much involved in them anyway. This is what I showed you on the screen here of our ecosystem. That's just the high-level architecture. There's so much more integration pieces that aren't even on that page. All that had to be integrated and transformed on a single weekend. So we chose not to do any more than just technical migration. This is the most transformational upgrade we've ever done, because in the past, your SID doesn't change. Here, it's a brand new system, and all the integration points have to go to this brand new system.
Phase of S4, the innovation, BTP and all. You are doing the business transformation where your supply chain or other modules will merge into S4?
The question is, the second phase of the innovation phase, we're going to do more transformation in S4? Is that your question?
Into S4?
No, we didn't do any kind of consolidation, app rationalization, nothing like that, no. Literally everything that was running in ERP6 is now running in S4. I'm sorry?
The mandatory stuff is what you did.
Yeah. All right.
Because you have the same number of SIDs before and after.
Well, we have one more SID. Well, the question was, we have the same footprint, so to speak. Yes, we have one more S4 SID now. Yes. And then just for those SAPs geeks in the room, I put down how many SAPs that we used to do the migration. This is across the source and the target systems. We used 2.63 million SAPs to do the migration. Quite impressive. And all on the existing hard that we had purchased 3 years ago, and we absorbed it. So all those rehearsals, whenever we cranked up those source systems and rehearsals, we only had to pay for the amount of minutes that we had the migration running on those extra resources that we went over our base our base component, our base price for resources.
Sorry to keep asking, this is really interesting. So you went with more of a technical uplift. How customized was your ECC environment? How many customizations are you bringing over? For example, we've got 190,000 customizations and every single transaction is customized. We don't really feel like we can do a technical uplift. That's bringing too much into S4. What are your thoughts on that?
So the question was, how much customization do we have in our system? I can't give you a percentage, but I know when you have a single global instance of SAP and it's been in place for 25 years, there's a significant amount of customization that we had. And that was definitely a part of the transformation journey, so to speak. But we have a very highly technical, high-performing team that went through massive amounts of testing to get to the other side. Again, no real business transformation. It was just a do no harm. A lot of this stuff really isn't, S4 ready yet. It's just working the same way it did. It kind of like a look and feel like it's still an NEDB underneath the covers, but now we're on S4.
I'll take one more question before I move to the next presenter.
I'm the lucky one. Any lessons learned? Like, would you do it differently? Would you do it the same if you had to start over again?
Would we do it differently? Well, if you had asked me that in January of 2023, I'd have said yes. But I became a believer in the process, and we're working with our partners. And really, that's really the value add, if I can sum it up at the end of my talk, is that it's really not about the software and the hardware. It's really about the partnership. We had an incredible partnership with IBM, both on the technical power side as well as IBM Consulting and S&P Bluefield. I think it went as smooth as it possibly could, and it was a huge success. I'll stop.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you. And on a personal...
More questions after that. Scott and I can probably take them too. So I'm from S&P, so if there's any more questions which we couldn't answer, we'll be waiting for questions after.
Yes, we have.
So definitely, on a personal story, during COVID, there was no question asked. When we our family decided which vaccine to take, Pfizer, is not because you're our large customer, because of their IT infrastructure and technology. I believe what they have done with their IT, so I believe the product Pfizer delivers. That's why. So IT absolutely matters. Now I'm going to introduce our next presenter, who is Mateen Ashghar. There is another client. It's a client zero for Rise with SAP from IBM CIO office.
All right. Thank you so much, Meng. Introduction. My name is Mateen Ashghar. I'm from IBM. In fact, in this presentation, I'm representing IBM CIO. And as you can imagine, any large customer like of SAP have a lot of SAP workload running in their environments. But before I go ahead, show of hands, how many SAP customers are here? Okay, quite a bit. That's good. We have a lot of SAP ECC workload that was running in IBM environment, and that's catering to different business units of IBM. Today, I'm going to talk about a story of one IBM global instance that was covering a lot of business processes and a lot of business units within IBM. So this system was responsible for global operation, single instance, running on ECC, and supporting software, IBM hardware, which includes Power, Z, and storage. Also includes IBM Consulting, over 150,000 users of consulting in interacting with this system. IBM Cloud, and other even IBM AI, right? So all of these business units are supported by this end-to-end flagship SAP system that covers quote to cash end-to-end processes. Again, our story is very similar to Pfizer. We completed our migration in 18 months. And in fact, out of that, our database was much smaller. Our system was 15 years old, running on ECC 6, running on DB2 on the mainframe. But for us, IBM has always ran our SAP systems on Power. So our applications were always running on Power, but our database was running on mainframe. A big shift for us is we actually moved our ECC systems not on-prem, but we moved them to RISE directly. So in late part of 2022, early part of 2023, IBM signed a very large contract with SAP to move all of SAP instances that we have, and we have many of them. And I'll briefly touch on 4 of them today. One of them, though, I just mentioned, we signed a contract to move everything into RISE. The other instance we have is Global Master Data, which is MDG. Third one is running manufacturing. IBM still has manufacturing of storage, Z, and power, and that supports the manufacturing of those worldwide, globally. And the fourth one is the distributed software we have, which we are selling as SaaS solutions. So those all 4 instances are now operational in RISE on Power. So again, we were running for 15 years. We had 14 terabytes of database on DB2. We reduced it down to about 3. Our biggest reduction on database was due to Kyndryl divestiture, because we had a lot of data from Kyndryl in IBM systems, and we didn't want to bring over. And again, we took the Bluefield approach. And good thing was we were already on New GL, so we didn't have to do 2-step. We only had to move the data that's relevant for IBM Business going forward into S4. In addition to that, we actually introduced few new things in our S4, because we were stopping business. Can you imagine 18 months and there's no deployments going on? Because this is intense. It takes almost the whole team that's focused on your work, and you put that on pause to a certain degree, and then switch over to S4. And that's why do no harm and do it as quickly as possible, so you can now start working on business objectives, right? Again, we did it in 18 months, but in those 18 months, we implemented certain new things. I'm sure you heard about RAR, which is Revenue Account Reconciliation. That was new to us. We didn't do that. We also developed, about 10 years ago, we developed the IS high-tech solution with SAP, and that's not supported on S4. So we had to actually package our own S4 high-tech solution onto our S4 environment without any help from in that area, and move that code over. In addition, we had to change some of the solutions or add-ons that are not compatible with S4. So one example is Serala, which is actually an accounts receivable solution, and we had to implement that. We also implemented DRC, which is document compliance, with BTP. So we did that for several countries. And in parallel to running our S4 program, we actually, about 15 or 20% of our data we archived also. Now that's something that we had never done before, and our business was not ready for it. But as part of S4 transformation and move, we actually managed to archive, a big chunk of data, I would say. And we put that in place so we can actually keep on continuing on that journey. Overall, IRP is a system that's catering to worldwide IBM operations. It's about 25 to $30 billion of IBM revenue that's supported through that single instance. So again, our cutover weekend was just like Scott's. It was a war room, right? Running 3 shifts and making sure every step goes through as planned. And in fact, we did everything according to the plan. We didn't have any hiccups of that sort. We did about 7 rehearsals And in fact, I'll be honest, sometimes the management would say, can we do another one? And can we do another one? And there is good reason for it. You have a new set of code that's came in from Smart Shift and needs to be tested again. You have some other issues in the previous run that you didn't account for, or you had some long-running jobs that you need to go back and look at how long they're going to run this time in terms of data transport and so on. So we wanted to get a repeatable process that at least 2 or 3 times it would create exactly the same results. And we end up creating multiple instances, refreshes, and all that, and go through the golden copy process that Scott was talking about. And we took it from on-prem to Rise directly. So we had plumbed our systems from on-prem to IBM Cloud, using the transit gateway and all those networking pipes and all that, which gave us very good results. We didn't have any problems in terms of latency and all that in terms of transporting those files, because S&P works on file-based transfer, and all those files have to actually get to the target, read through their middleware solution, control system, I think, which is what's called, and it reads and inputs them into the target. Just gonna quickly touch on, and I'm gonna take some questions at the end. Quickly touch on some business benefits. We did achieve some business benefits from this transformation, because doing alone a technical upgrade was not something palatable to the management, and they wanted to see what else can we get out of it other than just a technical upgrade. So IBM actually manages all of the consulting contracts that we have for IBM Consulting in the system. And the contract registration was a big pain for us. So we actually managed about 73% of our contracts now go through that touchless. And the contract registration is a very quick and smooth process. Second was invoice accuracy. We had issues with invoicing, and they had to be recreated, or they were the pricing were incorrect, or so on. So there's many issues with that. So we got to over 80% of invoice accuracy with that as well. Third was accounts receivable. Again, we use Serala for that, but we managed to actually reduce the disputes and increase the accounts receivables as part of implementation. Only other one I would mention is, of course, the reports run faster. I mean, the reports that used to run in 3 hours, they run in 5 minutes now. So that was the benefit from HANA background DB as well. And the last one is we had a design principle of Fury first. So we wanted to do everything, whatever we could design a new function, we would do it in Fury first. And again, that means we actually enabled all of our users to actually use the Fury platform as a standard logon, even though we had the SAP GUI enabled as well. But remember, in order to make that happen, you have to redesign all of your roles. You have to recreate all of your roles on Fury backend and so on. So we implemented all of that as part of this release. What helped us was IBM Consulting. They actually gave us a good method and tools, and of course S&P, Smart Shift, and we did automated testing with Worksoft. We already have the regression tests suites ready. Give you an idea, we have about 38,000 custom objects, 5 million lines of code, 50,000 test suites, which we ran every test cycle, and we ran many of those. So I'll stop here and take any questions you have.
My understanding, but Rise is basically you give client 000 to SAP to maintain. Why would IBM do that? Because you also provide that kind of a service, correct?
Right.
So who maintains your infrastructure and the core?
Yeah, I didn't talk about the operational benefits. So you're talking about who manages our core. So in case of IBM, because it was a version 1 of Rise contract, the new announcement is about Rise 2.0. So the first Rise 1.0 we did, where IBM Consulting is actually playing that role. They are actually providing the operational, and I didn't talk about the operational benefits. Putting everything on a standardized template, having one team manage and maintain and upgrade all of our systems on a schedule, as well as when the hot fixes come on. We have very tight, strict guidelines, as you do too, where the severity ones have to go in 4 days. I mean, that's what our CIO guidelines are. And this team is really good. I mean, they would actually tell us ahead of time and implement those changes throughout our landscape. Standardized template, standardized way of working. In fact, since last July when we went live, we haven't had any step one. So infrastructure is holding, the operations are holding, and it's one set of we call them SREs, reliability engineers who actually are responsible for running our operations 7/24.
Thank you very much, Mateen. Appreciate. Mateen has always been our #1 customer. Last but not least is I want to have Satya Sharma, who is the founding father of IBM Power Virtual Server, as well as IBM Power.
Hi, so my name is Satya Sharma. I'm IBM fellow and in CTO role based in Austin. IBM has a dual career ladder. So you can be a techie and you can become executive. Or of course, there is the vice president, general manager route. So I've taken the technical path to get to the executive role. I've been working on IBM Power for a lifetime. We are now at Power 10 generation. I started on Power 3. So we have done Power 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in different development roles. Most recently, I've been working on Power Virtual Server, which is our cloud implementation. And there are 2 generations of RISE to your question. The first generation was called RISE Premium Supplier. In that model, the RISE stack, the technical management stack, was built by IBM. It was still on SAP's paper from a commercial transaction point of view, but the technical work was done by IBM. About 13 months back, we started work on second generation, which is now this product, which is a mouthful, RISE with SAP on IBM Power Virtual Server. The name sort of it has even more words in it. So this is a joint project between IBM and SAP. We announced this product in January, okay? So now one might say, what is the motivation? Because RISE was available previously on many other clouds. So the motivation from IBM and SAP point of view is there are 10,000 customers on premises who are running on Power. So it's a popular platform from the customer population point of view. And IBM for sure believes that the path of least amount of work and least amount of risk for these on-premises customers to go to RISE is Power Virtual Server. Because of architectural consistency, because of compatibility, it's far easier to go to Power Virtual Server compared to going to Azure or AWS on x86. In fact, we have done some estimates that it's about 25% less work to go from on-premises Power to Power Virtual Server. And then from benefits point of view, if I could highlight few more benefits, if you take a look at security on IBM Power, the number of CVEs, the CVEs, you all know what that is, the vulnerabilities, security issues, it's 13 times fewer on IBM Power compared to alternatives. Every time you have a CVE, you have to patch the system, it causes disruption. So if you take a look at security profile on Power, it's far better than the alternatives. On the availability front, there's an organization called ITIC. They do these annual surveys of the customers. And in their surveys, they've highlighted the number of failures on Power is 263 times fewer than the next best alternative, which is HPE system. So from the resiliency point of view, the significant advantage on Power. And I want to say most customers who run Power, SAP on Power, are delighted by that experience. Scott, I don't know your own experience and you as our internal customer. So most customers are delighted by that experience. And we think that this experience will carry over when it comes to RISE on IBM Power Virtual Server. So big picture, that's the motivation from IBM point of view as these customers make the RISE journey. that the most natural platform for 10,000 on-premises customers is to go to RISE on IBM Power Virtual Server. Go ahead.
While we have a number of clients now, including IBM, running their RISE journey, their Cloud ERP journey on IBM Power Virtual Server. Our first two RISE clients were actually non-IBM Power customers. They were x86 from a respective another hyperscaler and chose to go to the Power platform, Power Virtual Server. They weren't just inherently a Power customer. But while this offering is IBM now the fourth approved hyperscaler, we're with SAP. Of course, our target client base is our 10,000 plus enterprise, some of the largest clients in the world for SAP. We're here to help everybody, right? Make that decision, make their Cloud ERP journey decision with SAP and IBM as easy, smooth, seamless, fast as anybody else.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just so I understand.
Yeah.
So the Power Virtual Server is actually a hyperscaler environment.
Yeah.
Can we close this door? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's a hyperscaler environment running on IBM Power platform.
Yes.
Is that a fair
Yes,
statement?
that's right. It's our multi-tenant public cloud implementation. The name is IBM Power Virtual Server, but yes, it's a cloud implementation. And in this new flavor, the stack, the RISE stack from SAP is the same RISE stack that they run on GCP, AWS, Azure. So it's a common management stack, and we got added as the fourth implementation alongside these three. So from the operational model point of view to SAP, it looks no different compared to these other cloud implementations. But there are some additional benefits. One of the big ones, at least in my opinion, is that Power VS, we can offer HANA profiles which are much more granular. So let's say you need 18 terabytes. On Azure AWS, you may have to jump to 24 terabytes. On Power, we can offer 18 terabyte profile. So this can result in now this will require tailored offering, those of you who know the PC versus tailored. So if you go in tailored mode, then you can get a much more sort of cost-effective, TCO optimized profiles, which can help from the cost point of view. So it's not only security, resiliency, but the TCO benefit as a result of a very flexible HANA profile model. Those are some of the big benefits.
Another value prop here is that this particular architecture in IBM Cloud is purpose-built to look exactly the same way customers run their SAP workloads on Power on-premise. That's the differentiator.
Excellent point. And in fact, it's unique in that regard. We don't think that there's going to be a round two of questions. We are probably not going to get to it. If you look under the hood of how Power VS is implemented, it's a look-alike of what you might have done in your world. So it's not sort of like these other cloud implementations in the industry. It's quite unique in that regard. Go ahead.
So the SAP RISE has 4 or 5 platforms now. AWS, GCP,
Yeah.
Azure, all platforms,
Yeah.
also Alibaba.
Yeah.
So 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we think we have the best alternative of the lot.
Yeah, it sounds easier, more tailored than others.
So we can wait outside for more questions, and feel free to take a book. It's one of our IBMer who actually. Yeah, sure, yeah. And we have a booth downstairs. Please feel free to stop. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.